Next up we have Patrik. Wallström, okay. He's talking about Zonemaster, a DNS testing tool for testing the DNS delegations. Patrik.
Thank you. I'm Patrik Wallström. I work for .se, and we started this tool together with Afnik. And the reason for this was that we had DNS check, which was not giving us deterministic results anymore, and that this required a total rewrite. Afnik had their own tool called ZoneCheck, which was written in Ruby. It was old legacy code, and they didn't have any Ruby developers left. So we decided to join forces and create a better tool together. So our decision was that this should be a reference tool for anybody who wants to do this type of testing. This should be the tool they want to use. So we joined forces and created a joint set of requirements and specifications for the tool. And the collaboration is that we did this completely together. And we decided on a new name for this tool. Rather than keeping ZoneCheck or DNS check, we decided to have a completely new name, which was the hardest part, really. So we have Zonemaster now. The requirements come from the both tools combined. So we collected all the test functionality, test cases, and everything else that both tools did, and created a new set of requirements for this. We also decided this one should be very modular code so that we can have this distributed development going on to create everything separately from each other. And it should also be fast and have a lower impact on the network when you perform the actual tests. So the requirements was a long list of requirements that we started out with, and then we, if you look at the requirements list right now, it's missing pieces here and there, and that was due to that there was a lot of duplicates and things that was not relevant in this decade any longer. So when we had a list of requirements, we also decided that we want to have very explicit test specifications for each tests that we wanted to implement. So this is one example of this. You have a test case identifier. You have the inputs needed for the test, and the objective is very important. This is what you really want to test, and we decided that we should have references to RFCs explaining exactly why we are testing this. They also have the order descriptions of how you're testing the objective. So the implementation, we decided to write it in Perl because that was the common language between the organizations. So we ended up with 4 different modules. The engine, which is the core test framework with all the test specifications implemented as test cases. Everything else is built on the engine. The CLI, which is a command line interface, the backend, which is, I explained it more, and the web interface. So the Zonemaster engine is a Perl library, Zonemaster namespace, and that implements all functionality for testing, the complete test framework for actually writing test cases. All the test cases that we have, and different functionality for logging results as well. And it has its own resolver. It's based on LDNS. So we decided to wrap LDNS into NetLDNS instead of using NetDNS, because that was giving us more access to what we actually needed to write this test framework. The CLI takes input from a user, executes this test, publish a log, and you can have the log output as text, raw text, or JSON. The backend is a JSON RPC interface for the engine. It's web-based, so you can write any tool that wants to run the test through this API instead. But it's mainly used by the graphical user interface. The GUI runs a test and can present the result. And when I publish this during the DNS org, the web interface that's available on Zonemaster.net crashed. So let's see if that happens today if you want to run a test. It looks like this, and it should look like this if we go into that interface now. So what you have is the domain you want to test and the results after a while. You can also do pre-delegated tests if you want to have a delegation done but has not performed it yet. You can give information about the name reserve records and the glue and the DS records, if that's available now, I'm not sure, before you actually do the delegation and test this with the fake parent data. We have a number of releases done. The modules are released as different releases, so the current versions is not this list, but is quite recent. We had a new release this Monday, and we have the Zonemaster distribution releases, which is all the components batched together as something that we know that works perfect together. Installations is, since it's Perl, we require lots of external Perl modules, so it should be as easy as this on a Debian-based system. Install the necessary packages, and then you can use cpan to install the rest of the Zonemaster, and it will fetch the module from the cpan, and any dependencies that are not included as packages will just follow there. And the same goes for the CLI. When you have done this, you have a working system where you can run actual tests. So how to run a test then? It's as easy as this. You write the Zonemaster CLI command with the domain that you want to test, and then you will have a log of results. So this is the log result in English. It's also available in Swedish or French if you prefer that. In the CLI, you can also run pre-delegation tests. You can record a session, which means that you can run a complete test, record the DNS data required to perform the test, and then you can later go back and rerun the tests from this recorded dump, which is very useful for debugging purposes. If you want to change a test policy, you can reuse a previous dump to see what happens when you change the policy. But you can also use this file. If you find a bug or a strange domain, you can send the dump to us and we can debug the issue. You can also use different policies and configuration for running tests. You can also record name server response types. If you're suspecting that one of the name servers is running slow, you can see which one it is. You have a policy which describes exactly which test case is giving which log level error. So if you decide that a certain message should not be an error, but just an informational messages or a notice, you can change this configuration completely. This is the default part of the default policy that we have, which is, I mean, it might not be perfect, but it makes sense based on what kind of DNS delegations that you have today. Human readable logs, you can also have the log output in JSON, which is very useful if you want to write another interface for using this tool. It's also extremely easy to write your own applications. You just include the Zonemaster Perl module, and then you can have the log by running the test zone command or whatever. It's extremely easy to make use of the Zonemaster Perl modules. I've made my own batch tool for collecting, for mass collecting of domains, which is a threaded Perl module. So this is very useful if you want to collect results for a large number of domains and then do some sort of analysis. And you can have the results stored in the Mongo database for analysis. And my experience with actually doing the analysis showed that there was a lot of imperfection in the log output. We're going to fix that. We're also going to implement new test requirements from user requests and so on. We're also creating an IANA task profile so that you can run the same tests as IANA does when you're doing a root delegation, and also other features such as HTML export of the result files. But what do you need in this room for doing tests? Bash testing from the CLI, ncast testing, mobile apps. Any specific test cases, you are more than welcome to contact us and go through the GitHub page and make a request there, and we'll try to fix all the problems. We have a task force within the center, which is the European coalition between the CCTLDs. And our goal is to have the list of test requirements as an RFC, hopefully soon. We're still working on it. And this is all the URLs if you want to get involved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Patrik. Any quick questions? I don't see any. Okay, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
So next up, we have Stephen Barth from OpenWRT. He's talking about an IPv6 configuration framework on OpenWRT.